The Tennessee Titans have had maybe the most interesting offseason in the entire league this spring. They have quietly made some really nice additions that filled in holes that they had in 2023. They are also officially giving the keys to second-year quarterback to Will Levis and first-time head coach Brian Callahan. Moving on from Mike Vrabel to hire Brian Callahan is just one of the more surprising shifts in the team this offseason. The big question is, will it really all work? In this video, I'm going to answer that with what I think the 2024 season will look like for these Tennessee Titans. And I'm doing these overview videos for every single team this offseason, so check out the channel and see if I covered your squad yet. So with all that being said, let's get right into the video. Let's just start off by talking about Will Levis. He is obviously the quarterback of the team, and he is going to be what makes this team very good or not so good. And of course, I mean, you could say that about just about any quarterback in the league. Of course, it's one of the more valuable positions in sports, and it's very tough to have a good result if you have a bad quarterback. That's a very well-known thing in the NFL. But there's so much on Will Levis's plate this year, and he has to be the guy for them to be good, not just now, but going into the future as well. And there's just so much on him. I can't say that enough. How much is on this kid to take a step forward in just his second year with a brand new head coach? We're going to talk about Brian Callahan and what he's going to mean to this team as well. But just Will Levis, how much is on his plate is absolutely it's really astronomical, honestly. Let's talk about his 2023. He played in 9 games and had 9 touchdowns, and he was sacked 28 times in those 9 games. That's too many. That's way too many, and that's a Will Levis problem, and that's going to be the guys in front of him, too. The offensive line needs to be better, and the Titans did add to their offensive line, signing Lloyd Cushenberry to a 4-year, $50 million deal, and this is just a unit that needs to take a step forward. We're talking about the sacks that they've given up, and like I said, that's a Will Levis stat almost as much as it is an offensive line stat at times. But you'd have Peter Skoronski, hopefully he can take a step forward. You just took J.C. Latham, so your tackles, hopefully you have bookend tackles, signing Cushenberry in the middle. In theory, I can see what they are going for there, and you're not going to have. Typically, a team doesn't have 5 good offensive linemen, honestly. So having 3, hopefully that you can count on, Cushenberry being a known quantity, Skoronski and J.C. Latham being more developmental pieces, but they're both first-round picks, obviously, and those are guys that you expect to take the steps, especially in the case of Skoronski. Not that he was necessarily bad or anything like that, but coming into your second year, you really want him to be that tackle of the future. And then we'll see what J.C. Latham does in the NFL. Coming from Alabama, played in the SEC and stuff. So I do understand what they're doing, and that just has to be an area where they get better. Can't take so many sacks, and yeah, Will Levis just has to be the guy. And some of that's on him, some of that's on the guys in front of him, and we'll definitely see how it goes. Now I just want to talk about some of these offseason additions that Tennessee has had. Obviously, you see Calvin Ridley at the top. These are just the free agency signings. We're on Spot Track here. I just kind of want to give you just a quick overview of just what they brought in. Obviously, L'Jarius Sneed is not on this list. He was a trade piece. But you have L'Jarius Sneed, Calvin Ridley, Lloyd Cushenberry, Awuzie here, Tony Pollard, Kenneth Murray. So a lot of pretty good pieces here that I think can really fill in the spots that kind of hurt them, to be honest with you. We already talked about Cushenberry. I don't know if Tony Pollard is going to be a world beater here in Tennessee, but I like his deal here. As you scroll over here, only half his money is guaranteed, $10 million. So really, it's like a 2-year deal here. Yeah, you see potential out in 2 years. That's not bad for a 27-year-old running back. I don't hate that. You have a quarterback on a rookie deal, obviously, on a second-round deal at that. And you bring in Calvin Ridley to a huge 4-year deal, $92 million. You see 46 of that only guaranteed at signing. Same kind of deal though. You're seeing a lot of this is something I want to talk about as well. You're kind of seeing a lot of these 2-year deals, 1-year deals for this free agency class. They are trying to keep it open as well. If Will Levis isn't the guy, kind of give him this 2-year window of years 2 and 3 for Will himself. And you're basically saying, go prove yourself. This is your roster, and well, we've given you what we've given you. Go make the playoffs for us and go let us make a run in a deep AFC. So the receiver core of Tyler Boyd, Calvin Ridley, and D-Hop. I think that's a pretty good core to be throwing to for Will Levis. Let's just talk about L'Jarius Sneed. Such a big addition. He's basically your third big star with Jeffrey Simmons himself. And then Harold Landry had 10.5 sacks last year coming off an ACL. So hopefully he can return to, I say return to form. He had double-digit sacks. So That's very nice. $23 million player. Jeffrey Simmons is a $20 million player. L'Jarius Sneed will be a $20 million player whenever his contract kicks in 2025. So you definitely have some money wrapped up there. But, I mean, that's what you do whenever you have a rookie quarterback on a very cheap deal. Like, let's just look at just Will Levis's deal here. I mean, it's very cheap. Very, very cheap. I mean, you can see his cap hit $2 million, $3 million at its highest point in 2026. That's ridiculously cheap, especially if he can contribute and be a good quarterback. That's what you do. You have this cheap quarterback, so you put a ton of pieces around him. You spend your money in other places. Here they are deciding to spend a little bit on defense. You still have D-Hop on $18 million. Calvin Ridley, obviously he will go, jump up in cap hits here over the next few years with a potential out after 2026. So this is what you do. You're spreading your money around, and I just wanted to take a second on Spot Track to kind of better explain that. So this is it for the Tennessee Titans. This is their roster. This is what their cap hits look like. And that was their free agency class this year. Let's finally talk about the new guy running the show. Brian Callahan is taking over from Mike Vrabel in a bit of a surprising move to probably the outside world. I don't know if it was something surprising to internally for Mike Vrabel and the front office and the players and stuff, but externally, outside of the building, very surprising to see them move on from Mike Vrabel. I thought Mike Vrabel was a fine head coach, always keeps him in games, similar to that Mike Tomlin mold of he's always going to keep his teams in games, he's going to be a hard-nosed guy, and they moved on to him. For Brian Callahan, he is what they are hoping to be, the next Sean McVay. They are hoping he is the next offensive guru to take over a team and completely turn that franchise around. Not turn them around. Tennessee has had some very good years, but flip them from the direction they're in right now, the position they're in right now, to being a Super Bowl contender. That's always what you want to do. And that's kind of the idea with Brian Callahan. He's been coaching in the NFL since 2010. He was the Bengals offensive coordinator with Joe Burrow, and he was in Cincinnati from 2019 to 2023 last year. And he is Bill Callahan's son. If you know who Bill Callahan is, he's been an offensive line coach for, I think, forever. He's actually been around, and hopefully he can take over and sort of pick up right where Mike Vrabel left off almost. You kind of saw the wheels falling off whenever they traded A.J. Brown. That's sort of the moment when it seemed like the Mike Vrabel Tennessee Titans wheels were sort of falling off. So hopefully Callahan can come in and sort of recapture that. But we will see. That is yet to be seen. First-time head coach, a lot on his plate, a young quarterback, and we'll see what he can do with it. But I did just want to highlight the head coach here, and I do think that's a pretty huge part of the 2024 season for the Titans. Overall, Tennessee just has a ton of new pieces this season, and they are a team that I could see scenarios where they either win their division or they have a top 10 pick in 2025. This is just such a huge swing of outcomes, and if Will Levis plays and looks like a franchise player for this team, they could absolutely compete with Indy, Jacksonville, and even Houston for a division title. If Levis can't quite put his game together this season, then I could really see the Titans' offense struggle to put up points behind a Tony Pollard-led run game. Of course, Brian Callahan also figures into the Will Levis equation, and it remains to be seen how he will handle real in-game situations as a head coach in the league. This makes for the biggest boom or bust team in the NFL in 2024. It will be very interesting to see how Tennessee deals with everything this season, and I'll be rooting for them to take that next step in 2024. If you enjoyed this video, check out the rest of my 2024 Team Outlook videos, subscribe, like this video, and thank you for watching.